Cheerio, babies. Hi, how have you been? How have we been? What's been going on? Eye contact. Today's video is we are being bombed for the past 5 days, 6 days, 6 days since Monday. It's been one of those awkward weeks. One of the fun things that happened with me personally is uh, it kind of coincided with a lot of thoughts that was already happening regarding my work. And so it kind of provided the awkward distraction where I just was trying to figure something out from one side, and on another side, kind of like trying to figure out why I'm not able to focus. And this has become so normalized in a way that I completely, I don't know, it's become so normalized to a point where I'm not really considering the fact that buildings are collapsing and people are dying and we're being bombed. But I've spent the week kind of like just pondering why I'm not able to focus. And so it's been one of those like exciting, interesting, awkward, I don't know, weeks where it just coincided with the fact that I had stuff I needed to like commit to and like take action towards, right? Especially when you're writing code and when you're designing shit. Because ultimately what happens is you go like you have to decide what you want to do, and then you start doing it. And if you don't take that decision, you're always kind of like in between yes, no, maybe this, and all the other options. So it's funny because right now I haven't done a video in like 3, 4 days, and the first thing that popped into mind was like I'm reading this video and I was like, hey, maybe like I need an update for whatever the fuck is going on. But anyways, it's just an interesting thing that we are able to completely the mind normalizes everything. And when I was talking to a friend of mine, she was like, how are you doing with all of this? And I was like, it's not personal, although I am distracted. It was funny because she was feeling all this guilt and like sadness. And for me, I was just kind of like, I was able to like not mislabel it. Because I feel like what we end up doing is we kind of like, when we're labeling something beyond ourselves, what we do is we kind of like, we attach an excuse to it. And the idea is I was feeling unproductive this week. And that I mean, you have to acknowledge the things that you're kind of like you have to acknowledge your productive points because naturally feeling unproductive is in comparison to last week when I was waking up by like 4 o'clock in the morning and I was walking and exercising, like taking notes and all that cute stuff. And then suddenly you're like, why am I not really in that zone anymore? Well, actually, it's like literally the world kind of like bitch slap you left and right, or is trying to. But so I was having that conversation, and my friend was like, "No, I don't seem to be very productive when it comes to work, and but I'm being productive when it comes to everything else." And I asked her a question. I go like, "No, where is that energy coming from to help? Because that gets exhausting super fast, and it really is all about how we focus our energy. And maybe this is a good video to actually have that conversation instead of like writing a video." My brief conversation for like 5 minutes was genuinely this. Uh, our consistency is a constant decision to be made. And at the very least, that's when things are changing and your consistency kind of like it's easier for your consistency to stop being a thing. That's when you kind of like spend a decision on it. And the reason I'm saying spend a decision because you don't make decisions, you take them. And we kind of like take forth, I don't know, like I think we could get better at taking decisions daily. but there's a consumption of energy behind taking the decision that is more relevant than the energy required for the decision itself. It's one of those, I don't know, I feel like there's like, there's a different charge for the decision taking process than the actual charge that you could actually, the momentum you can create. Well, okay, so the decision taking process is more of picking the frequency, like the speed of what you're going to be doing. And then basically, like, once you take a decision, going for it is kind of like a lot smoother because ultimately, when you're taking a decision, you figure out the speed, and all you have to do is just adjust. You're not really like doing all these activities like first gear, second gear, third gear, or like pressing up on and down or turning the car on. It's more like an okay, like oh, this is the speed I'm gonna go to with, so that next when you're turning the car and like preparing for it, you have an actual like direction and standard. And it takes a lot more of our uh, mental energy to to stick to consistency in times of turmoil. But that allows us to sustain energy on everything else in our life because times of turmoil, if we give it any attention, the way it demands it, right? The way it demands it. Right now, like what the world is demanding of me is just being on Instagram, being on the news, calling everyone I know, checking on them every 5 minutes, and kind of like ex شو اسمه and overflowing or infecting the world, the people I care about, with my guilt and my feelings and my anxiety and my worries. But at least that's how I feel I'll be doing things, right? And but like that's not sustainable at all, simply because just like everything else, if one thing right now kind of like everything gets normalized. So eventually this consumption requires a lot more energy. It's an addiction, just like everything else. It will require a lot more energy in order for it to be sustained, which the body cannot actually like doesn't have a rhythm, a specific rhythm for the body to be able to generate that kind of energy. And that's why routines kind of work, that make sense, not necessarily routines in terms of like wake up at 5 o'clock and do this, and or do this at this time and at this time do this, but more like time slots throughout the day for specific things that allow you, that relieve you of the decision making process, which normally allows the consumption of energy. Uh, and that again, like with when the world is in turmoil, the decisions made for you, which is not necessarily something that is harmonious with you or how you are. And that tends to kind of have its own energy frequency slash rhythm. And then you're basically awkwardly dancing to whatever is demanded instead of you kind of like being the person that's kind of like deciding how to give it. And I feel that strongly that that extra space is is the consistency, because that consistency sustains your presence and sustains your control over your day, so that when other things are coming on about, they're coming on that stability instead of coming on that randomness. Uh, yeah, it really feels like if there's a band already playing, and any other instrument that's gonna have to come has to play in coherence with the whole band. But if there's no band playing, then any instrument that plays can set the tone and set the rhythm. And then band members have to kind of adjust to that instrument. I see that's the difference, right? Like one is you're looking at your world and your reality, while the other one is you're kind of like, allowing the external world to create a reality within you. Oh, why did that become a thing? I don't know. I felt like I wanted to vent, or I wanted to elaborate a bit on where my mental process is today. I've been kind of guilt tripping myself the past 3, 4 days about this kind of stuff. I haven't been able to sleep properly, and it's because like wake up in the middle of the night for like and like other sounds. But in truth, A bigger part of why I haven't been able to sleep is excitement and a bit of just kind of like I still am not. I'm still reflecting on the fact that I am being tentative and cowardly because what I'm doing is something completely new, and I've been rejected way too many times. And this as well feels like, it feels like I'm getting closer. But when somebody says no, or when something doesn't work, I don't know. It's kind of like that mourning period, mourning period, mourning when you're mourning somebody's death, when you're mourning something's failure. And I feel that's probably the first time I kind of look at it that way. And it really could use just actually me spending time acknowledging it and maybe diving into deeper details of what to do next in order for that to become, because your mind is switching from something that was supposed to or was there to something new, and that transition period is what requires the attention. And that's what I think when you're mourning the death of somebody, you're not really going, oh, he died, but more like, how would the world look like without them? And that's basically what you spend time on, and then you establish in order for you to be, oof, that's kind of intense, man. The mourning period itself is genuinely you establishing a world with whatever is no longer there. And it works on everything in your life, be it girlfriends, be it friends, be it projects, be it money, right? Like you lost money, you made a bad investment. That's basically spending time with those feelings. Oof. And I feel this week has been kind of like that. I, there, I maybe I put a facade that, oh, that doesn't work. And I get excited for something new to happen, but it doesn't really like give those feelings the actual love they deserve, I guess, or the attention they deserve. The mourning period, I fucking love it. I'm gonna write it down somewhere. Love you guys. Bye.